I also refer to the advanced research by Sébastien Soave, a scientist in Montreal, who found at least 50 different types of pesticides were detected in tap water. When a scientist of his caliber then suggests that instead of panicking, the public should ask elected officials to provide safe drinking water, I ask, when will the government use science instead of abusing science? So, Meg, could you talk about your experiences as a scientist researching various issues related to safe drinking water? Was your research acted upon or that of your peers?
Well, that's a really good question, because sometimes one person's research is part of a big puzzle. And so when you get all these puzzle pieces, it's easy to say, oh, well, that's from last week's puzzle or something. And so it's true that a lot of the time it takes quite a while for all of these small studies to be linked up. And what can happen, and this is what we do with Prevent Cancer Now, is we say, well, we've got this evidence that this particular pesticide is mobile, and this particular chemical has these properties. And then another chemical, which seems to be along with it a lot of the time, has other properties that kind of can be amplified or somehow made more prominent. One example might be that glyphosate, the well-known herbicide, it's actually a chelator, which means it can wrap itself around metal ions such as lead or cadmium, which we know are in Canadian soils, and it mobilizes them so they go into the plants. And this is all through the water. And so Canadian commodities have actually been turned around from the EU for having too much toxic metals in them, because we just happen to have a lot of higher levels of these metals in our soils, in the prairies, and also in our potash fertilizer. And another property of the same chemical is that it's an antimicrobial, and that's why it interferes with the human gut microbiome, but it also interferes with the microbiome of the soil. So this is just an amazing sequence, but the glyphosate affects the microbiome of the soil. The microbiome of the soil includes microbes which are pathogens for grasshoppers. And so there's research showing that grasshopper infestations are worse where glyphosate is sprayed. And like every single step of those connections exists in research, some of which is from Canada, it's Canadian research. And yet, do you think that at Health Canada that they say, oh, I wonder what the effects of pesticides are on pest infestations? And this is there's innumerable instances where there are very important commercial and public health and environmental health issues which we know about, but nobody pulls these puzzle pieces together.